Sound check. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. Thanks. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember him? Who was that? That great Marcel Marceau. He could create worlds silently. Well, good morning. How nice of you all to appear here magically. Anybody here for the first time? 1, 2, 3. Welcome. I always like to say to those of you that are here for the first time how happy I am that you're on a spiritual quest. What a blessing it is to come to a place in one's life where you're actually seeking out a spiritual community and spiritual direction, and to strengthen that inner journey that you're on. And I hope PIMC is exactly what you're looking for. And if it isn't, keep looking, because it's there. You can find something that's good enough. It's like, what's it? The psychoanalytic people around mothering, parenting, that what's needed is the good enough mother who meets the child 30% of the time where it's needed, and that's enough to set off the proper developmental phases. So, hello to those of you joining us on the internet. Mm-hmm. This will be my last time in this seat for a month. I'm having a significant enforced vacation of sorts, in that tomorrow morning I'm having brain surgery. That there's an aneurysm on one of my arteries there. And they found it as an incidental finding when I had a minor stroke 2 weeks ago. So the stroke persists as a little bit of numbness here, but mostly it persists as gratitude. That I'm so fortunate to have found this balloon on the side of one of my arteries, because ultimately it would most likely have broken, and that would have been a fatal or very profoundly debilitating thing. So it's 5:30 tomorrow morning. We go to St. Vincent's, and then they start at 7, and it will be between 3 and 6 hours. And they go very carefully inside, and then they clip it. They put a clip, like it's like I was joking. It's like an old roach clip, but they you remember those? But it looks like a paperclip that's been bent, and they go clip, and they exclude the aneurysm from the blood flow, and then should be good. So we'll have more announcements about that, but that's the context in which I'm with you today, and it makes it so precious, right? That we get to be together and be Dharma siblings Dharma friends, and to do it in the light of the fact that we just never know. We never know whether we have each other for another moment or not. And not to be frightening about this. This is what, for this doctor, Vivek Deshmukh is his name. This is everyday work. He's done thousands of them. It's kind of amazing. So it's not a high-risk procedure, but it's my head with a hole in the, cutting a piece of, it's funny that they cut a circular hole, but then they also make a little V in it, like you do in a pumpkin, to get it back in place easily. It's funny. I guess you have to have a little humor if you're going to sit for. It could. It would be exactly. Hey, there's a lump. Hey. I did ask if they could do a Harry Potter scar, but they can't. They can't do it that way. So, since our bodies are so fleeting and unpredictable, they sure are no place to take refuge. I take refuge in the body. I take refuge in the youthful body that we've kind of lost. So the Buddha suggested way back when, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And it isn't a religious process. You can do that, but it's a spiritual process. I take refuge in that which is awake. I mean, right now, you're awake. And you can know that you're awake, right? Please become aware of your right hand, the middle finger of your right hand. How did you do that? It's that which is awake. And that is where our world exists. Everything arises into that which is awake, into consciousness. So that's a suggested refuge. The second one is, what do you discover when you take that refuge? You discover that everything's impermanent. You discover that suffering isn't... that pain is inevitable, disappointment and pain, but the suffering that we do is kind of optional. We can make a difference with that, with the practice. And thirdly, I take refuge in the Sangha, in the community, which here we are. We're supporting each other. And there's a community of people who have done this very thing now for 2,600 years down through time. That's pretty impressive, 120 generations since the Buddha, teacher to student, to student, to student, to student. And, but the one that enlivens me the most is the realization that we, at this moment, are part of life on the earth. We are in the tree, in the cambium layer, there's this little layer. It's 1 or 2 cells, I think. All the rest of it is just wood, but there's this life. And we're that, as are the elephants and the bears and the bacteria. There's a lot of us here on the earth, and we're part of that. So if we rest in that, we can really relax a lot, because we don't have to try to be something we're not, which is permanent. Let me just get this. I suffered a battery failure on my guitar just when I first got here. All right. So please join in as makes sense for you. Is that coming out there? I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. Once more, I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. I just remember that silly cartoon with the Dalai Lama opening a box, gift box, and it's empty. And he says, just what I always wanted, nothing. Let's sit and do nothing for a while. Maybe a little something to, it's like training wheels or a handrail. Let's notice that there's a body sitting here. And we notice that because it's alive. It's really stunningly alive. Every cell, so many interlocking systems. We breathe in air and the body exchanges oxygen for carbon dioxide. The heart beats. Blood pressure is maintained, salinity is maintained. So this slowest changing part of us, we can attend to, we can abide in the sensations of life, and thereby we inhabit the present moment. And this present moment is all we have, ever. The past is gone, completely gone. The future hasn't yet been born, and we're here now. So there's a kind of effort we make. It's more of an intention than an effort. I form the intention to stay when I can with the sensations of breathing. Or perhaps more broadly, to stay in the life of the body with the breathing as a home base within that. Of course, the mind wanders. That's its nature. Let's not have a war with the wandering mind. As we see in the outer world, the wars don't work very well. Instead, we bring love to bear. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I find myself right now, in this moment. So when there is waking up in the midst of a wandering mind, it's with a kind of kindness, metta, loving kindness and love. Oh, this is what the moment is. This heart has room for this moment. And then I think I'll take up that breathing in and breathing out sensation as a home base again. So simple. sometimes the mind is very quiet. And with practice, it can get really quiet. And that really quiet arises actually ultimately with no effort, because it's the natural state for the human mind. And it's a quiet that's shot through with love, because in it there's room for everything. Other times, of course, it's not so quiet. There are times when emotions are strong, or when something's coming in one's life that generates worry or fear. Or sometimes as we grow more quiet, old traumas will emerge, and regrets and resentments. They're not mistakes. They're just they're the flora and fauna of a human mind. What's so beautiful with all this is that they all occur in consciousness. They arise into something which is totally receptive, unresisting, which has one primary quality, which is awareness, knowing. When we take refuge in the Buddha, we're taking refuge in that place, that indescribable phenomenon in which everything else happens. What a relief. So coming home to this that is more yourself than your body is, more yourself than your rules are. Some would say this that existed before you were ever born and will continue afterwards. Breathing in, breathing out, resting. the mind could be colored with wanting something, desiring something. Could be planning how you're going to get it. Or I want that meditation state I had last week, or we simply notice that as it's the sticky, wanting kind of quality of mind. It will pass. It's normal. It's part of our survival instinct. Or its opposite, disliking, the mind striking against the object. I don't want this. Aversion, hatred. Also totally normal for a human mind. Or restless, agitated, worrying, remorse, a mind that's kind of jumping around. Again, normal, not a problem, really. It's seen for what it is. It's a state. Or sleepy and dull and thick-headed, sloth and torpor. Or doubt. I don't know if this is the right thing. I wonder, maybe I should be doing something else, or can I do this? Or again, normal, inevitable, not a problem. We just perceive all these things for what they are, mental phenomena, mental states. Notice that each breath has a beginning. And it really does. There's a moment before the chest and abdomen start to move that there's an impulse. We can attune to that. And then it happens. It happens all by itself. The breathing breathes in. And then there's this expansion of the chest and abdomen, and then it continues for a while, and then it slows down, and then it stops. And then it goes the other way. It starts breathing out. And it does this until it disappears. And in meditation, we develop a mind which is increasingly to interest itself in such simple things and into the cosmic laws which they manifest. Beginning and ending. In the same way, we can observe the wandering mind. Thoughts think themselves into existence and then they end. Please notice the mood which colors the mind right now. It's really important that we learn to see the moods of our personality objectively. Otherwise, we take them very seriously. And they color every perception. And letting the awareness broaden out from the chest and abdomen into the arms and hands. The feet and the toes and the knees and the legs. The pelvis with all of its life. The abdomen, solar plexus, chest. The buttocks where they experience pressure from beneath, from the chair or the cushion. The low back, the sacrum, the upper back. It's alive, isn't it? The fingers and hands and arms, forearms, upper arms, armpits, shoulders, neck, jaw, cheeks. When awareness arrives somewhere, suddenly that somewhere exists. The scalp, the forehead, the ears, the eyes. Letting your eyes roll around a little bit inside those super smooth, lubricated orbits. And then noticing the intention to let the eyes open. And then let them open really slowly and watch how vision begins. Seeing. Seeing and knowing it. Mindful of seeing. And then, to the degree you're comfortable with it, look around the room. See yourself in other forms. Let your field of vision meet the eyes of another person. Seeing. I wonder, Doyle, would you come up here, please? You're in trouble. Come on. And Gregory and Christine and Gary, please. And Jimbo, of course. Come and stand close to me. You're all in trouble, yeah. Doyle did it. It was Doyle. Oh, it's always Doyle. So these beautiful human beings, minus Doug Pullen, who's not here today, are the teachers of PIMC, and I speak of them right now, and I feel a little teary. We've been on quite a road together. I've known Jim for 30 years. Doug Pullen, 40, I don't know, prehistory. But as I was thinking to introduce them to you, I wanted to tell a story about 4 years ago. We were at our last, on the 3-year training program, we had 6 sort of week-long retreats. On the last one, it was between when Ruth Dennison died and when her funeral and cremation were. And I was more torn up than I had anticipated. It was really big for me. And the second to last day of the retreat, I was lying in bed and I thought, I know what I want. And I asked if we could bring a mattress down to be in the living room. And then I asked my friends if they would put their hands on me and hold me. And then there was a piece of music I wanted to play. And I just erupted. There was first there was angry kind of screaming, and then it was just this incredible sadness of so much loss in my life. And it's the loss that we all share, right? We all have so many losses. And this crowd held me so beautifully. And one of the things we realized was that any of us could ask for that. That it's a healing group, a community, such that we're really there for each other at depth. And I'm moved to do this today because, I face this surgery tomorrow, which 99% of the time goes great. But there is that time occasionally when something goes bad. And usually we don't like to talk about that, but it's very used to being Buddhists. We always have to, there's that shadow element, we better talk about that. And I was reminded of saying goodbye to Achan Amaro one time. I'd been on retreat with him, and a few of us were sitting around him. He's one of the Thai Forest Tradition elders. And he said, someone came in and said, "We've got to go or you're going to miss your plane." And he said, "Well, I have to go. And if we never meet one another again, I want you to know it's been a wonderful time." And of course, that's always the case every time we get in a car, right? But this time it's more dramatic because it's got a hospital in the ICU and all that. But we've done something really fantastic. This community has such roots, such legs, such structure, that my being absent for a month isn't even a ripple in the way things are going to run. Avi, sitting back there, is taking care of the office and doing all his community management stuff. Gregory here in his manager role I'm so glad you came on. He's been relieving me of so much stuff. Things are running so smoothly now that my being absent isn't an emergency at all to the organization. And 2 years ago, it would have been. It would have been a big deal. So the plan is, of course, I'll be back teaching in a month. And the reason I have to take a month off is I have to be on very strong anti-seizure medication. And it makes one very sleepy. Oh, there's Doug. Yay! We materialized you. Yay, good. Such is the pull of this crowd. Wow. Picture, please, would you? This is not such a common phenomenon here. Would you do this? Here. Okay, good. So, it was Doug's fault, of course. You all know that. So all the classes will continue on, and things will keep going. And Avi has an announcement or two about keeping in touch with my progress if you want, and so on. So we'll do that then. But anything else we should say?
Sundays will continue. There'll be a teacher in the seat every Sunday.
There will be a teacher in the seat, which of course is frightening to me. Because there's all this, I mean, it's really good to say, yay, we did it. And then to say, oh, but they're going to forget about me. It's such an interesting thing to see that as much as I wake up, little Bobby comes along. He's there in the background and provides a certain amount of entertainment and aliveness, I think, too. So, anything else we should say before moving on?
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
This is great. Look at this. Wow. All right. Yay. All right. And Jim, you're going to do a little movement?
Sure.
Oh, there you are over here. So what we're going to do now, Jim's going to do a little movement, and then Avi will do some announcements, and then I'm going to engage us in some more reflection on the Dharma. And then there's tea and cookies and some fine people to schmooze with.
Thank you, sir. All right. In touch with our feet on the floor. In touch with our breath. Well, this is a first. I've never done Qigong through watery eyes before. Let's lift our hands in front of us and breathe. Noticing that the breath has a beginning and an ending. We open and release. And our hands give us a visual cue of the journey of the breath. Can we be present at the beginning? Present at the end? present at the little seam in between. In between the in and the out, there's a stillness where all movement stops in the chest cavity as well as in the arms. We're using the arms to teach us. There's a moment when all movement stops. There's a stillness. Can we be there for that stillness? Can we be there for the journey between the two stillnesses? Now let's start working with the legs. As we breathe in, we kind of lift a little bit, and as we breathe out, we sink a little bit. Can we be there for the stillness in the legs? Rising, falling, beginnings and endings. Attending to the stillness that emerges spontaneously with each cycle. Now releasing the arms, beginning a lift, beginning a release of breath, a release of the arms. Can we be there for the beginnings? Can we be there for the stillness between? Can we be there for the whole journey? Following through the whole journey, the whole release. This time, lifting and opening, and noticing the mood change with the expanded rib cage. All this intense concentration loosens up. We can be lightly attentive to the whole journey because it feels much better to have more air. The mood shifts with the gesture changing. Just the physical structure emerging into another form affects the mood. And now, using the imagination, we'll lift overhead and paint a rainbow. And using the imagination, we can affect the mood. What is it like to paint a rainbow with a swaying body? Positive, negative, neutral. There's a response in every cell of the body with each new gesture. Release. Come up the center. Turn the hands and open, separating clouds. There's a beginning. Are we attending? Changing position. Starting to release. Are we attending? Can we be there for the whole journey? Each time we intend to pay attention, we're building this concentration muscle. Turning, lifting the arms, beginning a new gesture, pressing with the back hand, pulling with the front hand, turning the wrists, pushing and pulling. But there's a beginning when we get in position. There's a journey. There's a stillness when there's no movement, but it's really tiny. You got to really look. Not with your eyes. With your Buddha mind. Like lightning. There it is. and then the release of this gesture. A stillness, and then a lift, and a point of stillness before we start the descent. The breath comes in, stillness, sink. Stillness, begin. With the journey all the way through. New beginning, reaching up, lifting the heel, noticing the weight shift. There's a journey in the center of your body, left to right, right to left, and then there's a stillness in each cycle where movement stops, and then we start again. Attending to beginnings, to journeys, to stillness. Ending this gesture, we turn, relaxing the spine, relaxing the shoulders. Noticing beginnings, lifting, pausing, dropping, lifting, exhale, inhale. Stillness at the end of the cycle. Are we attending? Pressing across with a new gesture. Feeling that center of gravity engage one leg as it moves. That leg takes over the balancing function, lets the other leg rest. What's the mood of having solid balance in all these different positions? There's a taste to our engagement. We have this intelligent structure we call the body. And when we see it in operation and really pay attention, there's deep gratitude, deep affection, particular mood. This is the body balancing. Now reach across, focus on the palm. Let the other palm face the earth. There's a real stillness here. Now begin, ending, changing positions. That has a beginning and an ending. And then there's a movement of the center of gravity. Wiping the heartache clear. And one more cycle, attending to the journey, attending to the ending of that part of the movement. The next part unfolds and we relax. Coming to the center, we feel a different kind of stillness. Mechanically, we're still, but inside, we can feel a river of sensation. Sensations in the feet, sensations in the hands, sensations throughout the whole organism. And then we drop, sinking a little bit and opening. Come down the center. Noticing the journey. The little stillnesses. bringing our hands together in gratitude for the ability to practice together. Thank you very much. I forgot to mention, I'll be here next Saturday for a 4-hour half-day retreat with Qigong. That's the 16th at 10 o'clock.
You're in the announcements anyway.
Good.
Always. Good morning, Sangha. In case you don't know, my name is Avi. Cramp. That's not my name. My name is not Cramp. My name is Avi. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And I'm community coordinator here. If you want to find out how to engage in this place in a deeper way, please call me and I can help you do that. So what Robert was saying about news of his recovery, if you go onto our homepage, it's just you go right to portlandinsight.org, and then right there, right on the top posting box on the left-hand side, there is a box there that has a link to Caring Bridge and Robert's Caring Bridge site, which will give you the latest news. I don't know, how often he's sleeping, how many miles he's walking, how much he's eating. I don't know if he'll go into that much detail. I mean, all kinds of things. How many times he breathes during the day. I'm sure it'll vary from day to day. But I can tell you that when you go on the PIMC news website, there will be no fake news, guaranteed. There will also be, in that posting box, 2 other links. There is a link to Meal Train, which is a website that coordinates meal donations. Robert and Jen and family would really appreciate any offers to make meals. And on that page, it lists what the dietary requirements are, and then you can click little green buttons for dates that you want to come and you want to give a meal. It's very simple. You make the meals, you come, you give it, and you're done. And then finally, there's going to be a link to Robert's GoFundMe page for his not insignificant out-of-pocket costs associated with the surgery. Any amount that you can donate towards that would be really, really appreciated. Other things to think about. Please consider signing up to support our classroom. Every Sunday we have a really excellent children's program with a teacher who has been a kindergarten teacher for 20 years. And this is investing in the next generation of the Sangha. If you can spend, say, 1 hour going in there for one Sunday, that would be great. If you could spend 1 hour on a regular basis, say once a month, that would be even better. We would really appreciate it. So in terms of the things that are going on, as Robert said, the world is going to continue while he's recovering, and we've got a full schedule of things that are happening. On Tuesday, November 12th, we've got the Skillful Speech Practice Group with Doyle. November 15th through 17th, a non-PIMC event that we are really endorsing, Radical Dharma with Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams. There are event cards, and there's an announcement on Facebook and Connections. She was one of the authors of Radical Dharma, a book about healing issues around race and privilege in spiritual communities, and she's coming to Portland, and it's really worth attending. On Saturday, November 16th, we've got Jim's Qigong Retreat, half day, starting at 10. Also, on Saturday evening, November 16th, we've got Buddhist Movie Night. We're screening A Man Escaped. Then on Friday, November 22nd, our Engaging the Dharma group, which is the group that allows us to take what we learn on the cushion and put it out into the community in terms of mindful action, is going to be making brown bag lunches for the Laurelwood Shelter. That'll be Friday in the morning, November 22nd. Details are on the website. We can use food donations in that posting box, which is on the posting page of the website. You can get a link to the list, and you can find out what's needed, and you can bring food donations, and it talks all about the timing and how that is all going to happen. And Patricia, are you around? Patricia? Oh, I'm sorry, Melanie. Can you raise your hand? Ask Melanie any questions about that. She would be happy to talk to you about that. And then On Saturday, November 23rd, we've got a visiting teacher, Paige Cogger, who is a wonderful teacher. We'll be doing a full-day retreat here Saturday, November 23rd. Then we've got on Saturday, November 30th, a mindfulness hike with Vic. Vic, he of the raised hand, he would be happy to talk to you about that if you want more information. The Engaging the Dharma group is also going to be sponsoring a 6-week training that is going to be starting in December, an ecological leadership training program. And here's a summary about it that Michael gave to me. The ecology breakdown unfolds around us, and many of its compounding effects cannot be stopped, much less reversed. This training is a 6-session group-based class. It's designed to meet the participants in this challenge with new insights from the Dharma and the field of climate psychology. There is going to be an individual cost, and scholarships are available. Please see Michael if you have any questions. Michael, where are you? Michael, his hand is raised back there if you are interested. And then let's see. And then on Sunday, December 1st, we've got our Mindfulness Newcomer Orientation session with somebody. And then we will also have our Engaging the Dharma monthly meeting, December 1st. Then we have a retreat, our first Saturday retreat day-long with Jim on December 7th. And then Sunday, December 8th, we've got our second Sunday potluck. And you know, we've got a second Sunday potluck today. So even if you have not brought any food, please join us, because this is a group of people that is wonderful to get to know. And finally, we do Dharma consultations too. Jim, do you have space for that? So if you have any issues coming up in your practice, Jim would be happy to spend 20 minutes with you. If you would like to get a quick on-ramp to a practice, Jim would be happy to help with that too. And do we have volunteer stuff?
Yes, we need one person for housekeeping.
We need a volunteer for housekeeping. So please see Ipsia. And that's it. And that is it. On with the show. Thank you so very much. You have a wonderful Sunday. Blessings on your day.
So just wanted to let folks know, there was something to celebrate as far as our new outreach is for classes. So in the fall, we had over 120 people attending classes, and we had our first catalog that went out. The idea of the catalog is to reduce the amount of emails that we're sending everybody. So if you're in touch with Constant Contact, you know that there are quite a few emails coming from PIMC. So I'm doing my best to try and consolidate that so you get the information quicker and you know where to go for all of the signups for classes. So on Monday, our winter catalog will come out, and there's 4 new classes that are going to be starting in January, February, and March. So be looking for that. And the other thing that's going to be happening is we are going to try to have a weekly digest that will go out that will contain most of what is going on at PIMC, rather than having the individual emails that you guys have to keep opening. So be looking for that. The weekly digest will also have articles about what's going on PIMC. It will have interviews with teachers, stuff about the students, engaging the Dharma. So it will be really a newsletter, but in there we'll have everything that's going on for the week, including our weekly meditation groups. So we're trying to make it easier for you to stay in touch and participate without having to open so many things in your inbox. So Monday, the catalog should be in your inbox. So take a look at that and sign up and be a part of the community.
I found the missing picture. Yay. Thank you. Yeah. That'll work. It's on, yes. So I guess it falls to me to speak a moment about Donna. Donna Smith. No. D-A-N-A, the practice of generosity. The Buddha said that the practice of generosity is of such importance that if we understood the importance, we would never let a single meal pass unshared. And the importance of it is this, that even something as silly as a little paper clip. Oh, it looks like a brain aneurysm clip. Huh, interesting. Feel what happens inside you when I do what I'm about to do now. See this? It's mine. Doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good at this end either. Suddenly I have to be in a gated community and armor myself. But if I were to say, well, it's a pretty functional little paperclip. If anyone needs it, it's ours. And that's the practice of generosity. It's finding those ways in which I have enough and I can share. And PIMC runs on your generosity. That's the brick and mortar piece. And so you can contribute online. That's the best way. It makes the budgeting process easier. But also just to realize that, the gas bill comes in and all those usual things where there's a fee for service. There isn't a fee for service for PIMC. It's always happening on the basis of our generosity. And we show that also in the way the classes run. That that the sign up is routinely, here's the suggested donation, and you can fill in your scholarship amount that you want or can pay, and then there's another line which is if you can pay some more for this class, pay more. So it's a way of weaving the practice of generosity into the way we run the center, and it's been quite successful that way. And no one is excluded for lack of funds. And I realized that I left out a couple of pieces that I really wanted to mention. Could we close the windows? My toes are getting cold. Have a little confusion now in my left foot because it's numb. And when it gets cold and numb, it's kind of like the signals are not quite right. They say it may come back. The feeling may come back. But what a small price to pay for that, for the warning that I got. Heads up. So I missed a piece that I wanted to say, which is that first I'd like to shout out Stephanie Smith, who's had an incredible. She's a nonprofit consultant, executive coach sort of person, and I've been consulting with her for 2.5 years. And the changes that have come about in terms of the board and Gregory being aboard and much more other stuff has come from her consultations of what needs to happen when a founder ages and how one has to, if you want the organization to survive, you need to build infrastructure. You need to build a strong board. And we have a strong board. You need to have volunteers. Please raise your hand if you volunteer. I mean, look around. This is the commitment to keeping the place cooking. So we have the classes, the teachers, the board. Many of you know, and many of you contributed to the funding for it. Since the inception of the building, since we bought the building, we've wanted to put ramps in so that people who can't climb the stairs can come in. And we got that all funded and ready to go, and we took it to the city, and they said, oh, there's offices underneath the Dharma Hall. What are those doing? What are those? And we said, well, those are clinicians who work there. And they said, oh, but the basement is only licensed for storage. So then we were into permits for that. And then when you're going to have people downstairs, there's the seismic concerns. And so all of that has been stirred up, and we actually have a very strong steering committee working with that. And we have great consultants from the outside and strong financial support from outside as well. So we're moving ahead to create a more stable building ultimately, and it's going to happen in pieces. But this is all the stuff that's in place in terms of stability of the organization. And then there's the taproot, which is the Buddha's teachings. I mean, that's where stability comes from. The capacity, the intention and the capacity to do our best to plan and to prepare for whatever we can, and then the capacity to accept what happens. Right? So one more thing before I launch into more of that, which is my dear friend and through me, member of the Ruth Denison lineage, Paige Cogger. Paige teaches full-time in Ashland. And I forget how long ago it is. It's at least, 15 years or so. She showed up at one of my retreats at Brightonbush, and she'd practiced in Sri Lanka. She'd been practicing the Dharma significantly since her early 20s. And so we developed quite a powerful friendship and relationship, teacher-student relationship. And then I forget how long it is ago now, but I authorized her to teach. And she's coming to PIMC to do a day. And I really encourage you to consider whatever that date is, doing that day. And then she's going to teach on the Sunday. She taught with me at Brightonbush summer, I guess. And it was quite wonderful watching the way her maturity as a teacher has blossomed, and her strength and certainty, and she also teaches yoga, so movement is part of her teaching. So that's my pitch to come and support Paige and PIMC on that Saturday. Thank you, Ruth, but not the right spot. This is a poem I came across 30 years ago. It's been kind of my poem on my 50th birthday, I think. Jim made fun of me with this poem. I think it was you. It was a roast. You were.
Thanking you for introducing me to the poem by Jimenez, I Am Not I.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think we're okay. We'll fight it out afterwards. It's a poem by Juan Ramón Jiménez, Spanish, translated by Robert Bly into English. And it's probably the poem of my lifetime. I am not I. I am not I. I am this one standing beside me, whom I do not see, whom at time I do manage to visit, but who mostly I forget, who remains calm and silent when I speak, and who forgives gently when I hate, who walks where I am not, and who will remain standing when I die. I am not I am this one standing beside me whom I do not see, whom at times I do manage to visit, but whom mostly I forget, who remains calm and silent when I speak, and who forgives gently when I hate, who walks where I am not, and who will remain standing when I die. Is that not a poem and a half? Boy, oh boy. How many of you have been to not Johnson's Landing, that's an interesting, Mountain Waters? Please raise your hand. Mountain Waters Retreat. 1, 2, 3. So next July the 5th, I'll be teaching a 12-day retreat at Mountain Waters again. I invite you to join. That's a great place. But about that, when I found Mountain Waters, it's a whole long story about a landslide and urgency. Going into the meditation hall, on the left-hand side, there's a very faded, handwritten copy of that poem. And I said to Richard, who is our host there, who built the place, I said, "That's my poem." And he said, "No, it's not your poem, it's my poem." So there's at least two of us who are deeply embedded in that. I am not I am this one standing beside me whom I do not see. Juan Ramon Jimenez, Spanish. Juan Ramon Jimenez. Say that again. Juan Ramon Jimenez. Jimenez. De nada. I have a favorite story that many of you have heard. They say, the people who theorize about such things, that at first there was nothing. And then something happened. There was a ripple in the field, or as our friend Jack Samura put it in a talk here one time, the universe burped. And then there was a singularity, smaller than the head of a pin, of infinite mass, that then burst. And from that came all the galaxies, everything that exists. From that came our universe. And that's kind of weird, isn't it? I mean, it's really a strange story. And every civilization, every religion has their origination myth. You know, Mother Spider dropped from the sky, or some superhuman figure. What's his name? Think of Shiva. It's not Shiva. It's Shiva. One of the Hindu deities was lying, sleeping for eons and eons and eons, and a fly came in the room and it landed on his cheek. Brahman was asleep. And he opened his eyes, and the universe came into being. And he thought, where is that damn fly? And he was looking, and galaxies exploded and expanded, and civilizations formed and disappeared. And then he got to the other side of the room, and the fly was nowhere to be found, and he closed his eyes, and everything disappeared. Somewhere in one of those galaxies, long into the process, they say 14.4 billion years into the process, or something like that, a little yellow star has a planet orbiting it at just the right distance so that the water on that planet stays liquid. Right? What's 0 degrees Celsius Kelvin is 273, isn't it? Minus 273 Celsius. So it's a long ways, sort of, from there, liquid nitrogen and all this. And then you get to 0 Celsius where water turns to water. And then it's water for 100 degrees, and then it's vapor to the temperature of the sun. It's so tiny. And you know how when you're camping, you have to sit at just the right distance from the fire so that you don't burn the soles of your shoes, but also you stay warm, but you don't cook. And then the tolerances are so precise. And so then there's water, and then life started. I mean, how did life get here? Did it parachute in from space? That's my, I'm voting for that. There actually, several years ago, some fellow, 25 years ago, had the idea that the water on the earth came as ice from space. And they actually put up a satellite several years ago, polar orbit, that measures the little ice droplets coming in. And lo and behold, if you extrapolate the amount that comes in per year over the number of years there's been a planet, it's within 0.1%. Looks like the water came as snow. It snowed. We snowed into being that. But then to move along to where I'm trying to get to with this, life formed, and then it proliferated. And there was the time of the dinosaurs, which was long. And then it would appear that they were snuffed out overnight by a meteor that hit in the Yucatan Peninsula. They say that the liquid rock went a third of the way to the moon. And that as the earth turned, it burned everything. It burned all the forests all around the earth as the stuff was falling back in. And that then made room for the mammals. It was essential for us that happened. And then hurrying the story along, a few eye blinks ago, human beings developed. And then a man and a woman came together sexually and mixed their components together in such a way that an egg fertilized, and then it implanted itself on the side of a uterus in an absolutely optimal circumstance. And then it was cared for until it was born. Now, this story is getting weirder and weirder, isn't it? I mean, what a strange thing. And that means every one of us, that's how we came into the world. And the DNA danced, and we got apart from our father and apart from our mother, and then we went through somebody training, and we became somebody. And that somebody has attributes, and we have genetic components. Some of us have little weaknesses in the side of a head artery that would ultimately kill us. Some of us didn't make it through the first trimester. Some of us, not in this room, obviously, but some of us have died along the way. And ultimately, we all disappear. That's strange, don't you think? And it's not a topic we like to think about much. In fact, in some circles, when I try to talk about this, I get, shh, don't talk about that. Don't. But the fact is that we all know that. We know, but we don't like to think about it, that we're in peril all the time. So, before long, we'll be gone. And who knows, maybe we're past the fail-safe point with planetary warming, and maybe all the large mammals will be gone. Now, there's a level of focus on that, which is, oh no. There's another level of focus on it was, well, what do you expect? Because it's all impermanent. It started with this, and it's going to this entropy cold place. And along the way, we come along and we create meanings and we create a sense of self-identity. And then we defend ourselves against others, and then we have wars with each other, and and some of us have the incredible good fortune of running into the Dharma, where we really start asking the question, who am I? Who and what am I really? Really? And we can do philosophy till the cows come home, and we'll have lots of books and theories, but we won't have any liberation. We won't have any sense of freedom. So my understanding of the whole journey of the whole spiritual quest is really that question, who am I? And of learning, maybe I can find this favorite quote. Come on. Here it is. This feeling of being lonely and very temporary visitors in the universe is in flat contradiction to everything known about humans and all other living organisms in the sciences. We do not come into this world, we come out of it, as leaves come out of a tree. As the ocean waves, the universe peoples. Every individual is an expression of the whole realm of nature, a unique action of the total universe. That's Alan Watts. This feeling of being lonely and very temporary visitors in the universe is in flat contradiction to everything known about humans and all other living organisms in the sciences. We do not come into this world, we come out of it as leaves come from a tree. As the ocean waves, the universe peoples. Every individual is an expression of the whole realm of nature, a unique action of the total universe. Isn't it? Think about it. Think of yourself as a unique action of the total universe. There's only one, right? Each of us is one of a kind in the infinite vastness of billions of galaxies, where there no doubt is other life, right? There are advanced civilizations, and there are advanced civilizations that came and went, because they all come and go, ultimately. Anicca. A means not, nicca, not permanent. One of the three characteristics of existence, according to the Buddha, and one of the three great hypotheses that we use meditation to calm down, to become more loving, more capable of paying close attention to reality, with a purpose in mind, which is, who am I? And what am I? And are these thoughts that I think of as me, are they even mine? Or are they really thoughts magically appearing the same way the universe appeared? I had a really helpful conversation last Tuesday with a fellow who's a little older than me. He's 77, I'm almost 72. And he was helping me come to a realization or an acceptance that something's changed in me, this that I take to be me, through almost 50 years of Dharma practice. And that something is that, at least when at one level of tuning, there's really a lot of acceptance. And that of course, it focuses on the aneurysm and the surgery, but it's bigger than that. But around that, there is absolutely no emergency. And there's nothing to be afraid of. What could possibly go wrong? There's no one here. It's a strange way of talking, but it's true. Now, we tune the microscope differently. And, well, sure, there's somebody. What about me? He's going to cut a hole in my forehead. And both of those exist, and they're both real. And how blessed to have had the opportunity of the Dharma, to have that other alternative available so that one can rest in there's nothing to worry about. And to have a mind that doesn't identify so much with thoughts, worry. And I have found myself in the role mostly of comforting the people around me who are really frightened that I might disappear or become disabled some big way. And it could happen, of course. But it's been very interesting watching the deep emotional, every now and then this sadness will come through. And it's powerful, and it's clearly not me. It's emotion. It's painful, and it's transient. And I spent a week, 4 days, 4 nights, in St. Vincent's 2 weeks ago with the stroke. I had a wonderful time. There were so many they kept walking into my room, and they'd introduce themselves, and then they'd love on me in some way or another. They'd draw blood, or they'd take my blood pressure, or they do this whole menu thing, right? They come along in the morning, and they say, what would you like for lunch and dinner? And then they ask you what you want for breakfast, and then they serve it in your room. It's okay, right? You know, it's not gourmet, but I don't eat gourmet at home anyway. But the experience was one of such tremendous caring that I was cherished and held by these people who've devoted their lives to taking care of others. So I'm having an experience of it may sound perverse, but I'm kind of excited about tomorrow morning. I'm going on an adventure. That nice person will roll me down to the OR, and then they're also kind. And then I get to have general anesthetic and disappear for a while. That's kind of nice to not have to be for a while. I can just be gone. And then coming back, and it's like, whoa. And then there's this person saying, Robert, Robert. And it truly is an adventure for us. And I'm not trying to say there isn't fear but all that I'm utterly convinced, all that exists is now. And that surgery event doesn't exist yet. And it doesn't make really any sense to be freaked out about it. You getting this? And many of you in this room I've known for long enough, and some of you I've watched start with a tremendous identification with the emotional, with the body and the emotions and the thoughts. And then something happens at some point in practice where when there's this opening that occurs and we realize, oh, these are just thoughts. My personality, this that I take to be me, which is self-hatred, is a bad habit. It's not even personal. It's costuming. I see some people nodding. It's true. What a fantastic thing to have. Right? I take refuge in the Dharma. I was talking to Doug Pullen yesterday, asking what he was teaching in his intermediate Dharma class. And he said, well, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Get this, in 5, how long are the classes? 90 minutes. So the 4 foundations of mindfulness in 5 90-minute classes. Now that's an achievement. But the 4 foundations of mindfulness, I'm saying this now to kind of pique your interest, because when we ask ourselves the question, who am I? And then we develop a mind which is somewhat laser-like, somewhat loving, somewhat capable of carrying out the experiment. Who am I? Well, there's the 4 foundations of mindfulness, different slices through the human experience. Am I my body? And so we learn how to pay very close attention to the body. We do body sweeping, and we observe the breath, and all different. We observe the body going to the toilet, and chopping carrots, and driving the car. And we get really attentive to this. And is this me? Huh. And then it begins to become porous, and we realize, for one thing, it does whatever it wants, right? Falls apart if it wants to. And then the body is in interaction with the world through the sense doors, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, feeling body, and the mind with its mind objects. And then all those contacts are either pleasant, not pleasant, or indeterminate, feeling, Vedana. And so we start observing the arising and passing away of pleasant and unpleasant. We discover it's like a kaleidoscope. All day long, there's pleasant thoughts, pleasant sensations, unpleasant sensations. I'm having an unpleasant sensation that I'm feeling a little tired. I think I'll have a little caffeine. Oh, this tastes really good, positive. Oh, now the mood is up. And we start watching all that more and more and more because we're very curious about who am I? Right? I'm in the midst of this universe, and I'm in a body that's going to die. I think I want to find out who I am. And then there's the mental formations, which is our whole personality. All the stories we tell ourselves, and we each have a story. This happened to me when I was a child, and I'm traumatized because of this and that, and I can't do this because I'm a this, and all these stories, they also begin to become objects of observation, and we become really loving our poor little personality. It's... my little abandoned little Bobby is so predictable. It's amazing how that happens. It's like, no one loves me. I'm going to be all alone. And actually, there was a time when I hated him. I was so... He had made my life in marriages so awful because I was always disappointed. Because he's disappointed. Because he was hurt when he was really little, and as much as therapy as I've done, he's still hurt. And what does he need? He needs me. He needs me to really love him, right? This is a structure in the personality that I need to love, and I can. And I notice how he comes into being, and what the causes are, and then how he goes out of being. And then the 4th foundation of mindfulness, seeing. Please become aware that you're seeing. That's cool. Hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. The 5 hindrances, the 7 enlightenment factors. Is there any more to you than that? And the reason, I'd like to put a credit out to Matt Flickstein for this. The reason that the Buddha teaches us to become so articulate about the 4 foundations of mindfulness is because the more that we learn to see them clearly, we discover that they're all coming into being and disappearing, and there's nothing stable in them. And if there's nothing stable in them, who am I? Maybe I am that in which they all occur. And maybe we stumble into that by being so articulate about what they are. words. Painting words. I think I'd like to try to do this, see if it'll work. Please sit comfortably. Please roll these words over inside your own heart. I am of the nature to age. I have not gone beyond aging. Is this true? I am of the nature to sicken. My body is such that it can fall ill very easily. I am of the nature to sicken. Is this true? I am of the nature to die. I have not gone beyond dying. Is this true? Is it true that I will really die? All that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will become otherwise, will become separated from me. Is this true? Everything I cherish, everyone I cherish, all my achievements, my power, my wealth, my roles, this will all become changed without exception. I am the owner of my intentional actions. I am the owner of my karma. I am born of my karma, heir to my karma. Abide supported by my karma. Whatever intentional actions I shall do, of these I shall become the heir. Thus should we daily recollect, said the Buddha. I am of the nature to age. I've not gone beyond aging. I am of the nature to sicken. I've not gone beyond sickness. Is this true? I am of the nature to die. Is this true? Is this really true? All that is mine, beloved and pleasing, all that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will become separated from me. I am the owner of my karma. heir to my karma, born of my karma, abide supported by my karma. Whatever karma I shall do, of that I shall be the heir. Thus should we frequently recollect, said the Buddha. Teachings of great joy. It's to the degree we can, it's such a relief to live in reality. Now, of course, when we take the lid off these truths, it can set off all kinds of things in us. And great, because when they get set off, then we can see them, right? We can actually get a bead on them, and then we can do the grieving work we need to do, or we can do the celebrating we need to celebrate. The gratitude we can tell the people that we love them when we have the chance. Or we can set limits with people that we really need to set limits with while we have the chance. And make something. I think I want to close with this. Mary Oliver. Yeah. Mary Oliver. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps his purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through that door full of curiosity, wondering what it's going to be like, that cottage of darkness. And therefore I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. That's a line. That's a line and a half. I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy and just as singular. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does toward silence. And each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I've made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. Phew. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I've made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. what a trip we're on. I mean, isn't it strange? Any comment, question? In the moment or three we have left in this gathering today. Please, Michael.
I heard recently that self-love is a gift to the world.
Amen.
And I really appreciated hearing that, because if I think I'm doing something for myself, then there's stories about how selfish that is.
Right.
And if I feel like something is a gift, I find I'm more able to embrace it.
Mm.
So, yeah, self-love is a gift to the world. And that's been so, I can't think of the words, but I get that a lot from you, so thanks.
I was going to say that I was thinking about the journey on how I came here, and so I'm a little nervous about speaking here, but I think at some point you and I talked, and I figured out that you used to be a doctor at Hazelden, and I had worked there as a prep cook in the kitchen, and around the same time, and there's a good chance, I don't remember you specifically, but it's the same time frame, and I probably served you some food along the way. And then, I had no knowledge of what Buddhism was or anything like that. But fast forward all these years later, I came here about, I think it was about 3 years ago now. I'm not really keeping track well, but anyway, walk through kind of just life circumstances, and I break down of a relationship and all of these things, and so sorry, emotional.
Your emotions are 150% welcome. If yours aren't, then mine aren't, and then I don't like it.
But I was going to say, I've learned a lot from you and the teachings here.
Yeah.
And it's brought a lot of peace, and I've had a chance to introduce friends who are coming here occasionally now, and just thinking about how things are passed on, and and how we learn, and just a lot of stuff. I don't know. I was thinking about your journey, and I had a coworker. She recently retired, and she had a burst aneurysm about 7-8 years ago while she was working for our company, and she survived miraculously, and they discovered she had 3 others, and she had to have surgery. Yeah, besides the burst one, she had 2 other surgeries to get the other 3, and she has recovered really well. She's functioning highly, and but I learned a lot about aneurysms during that time, and they can just, when they burst, the likelihood of survival is fairly slim. But anyway, sorry I'm taking up all the time, but I just wanted to say that I've learned a lot, and just watching kind of the cycle of how I came here, and everything is kind of beautiful.
Thank you so much. I think the kids are in the chute. Is it real super, super brief? Yeah. Take the mic, sure. We'll
Just want to take the chance. I was on retreat with you in the new year last year, and I had terrible sickness. I had the flu. I was so sick I couldn't even sit up straight. And you encouraged me to stay. I mean, I don't know if you meant to, but I spoke with you, and you said, "This is how you are now. This is what's real." And getting the chance to look at it that way is not a failure, but an opportunity to be with what, I think that I'll be, as I do that over time, better off when my chance comes to be really worried about my life, right? So thanks
Yeah.
for the practice.
Experiencing sickness is normal. Sickness isn't a mistake. It's not because we've done something wrong.
But I
It's
thought
'cause-
about leaving. I'm like, I can't meditate properly, but
Right.
thank
Yeah.
you.
To love everything, to make space for the whole catastrophe. You remember Zorba the Greek? Zorba said to the English guy, the English guy asked Zorba, "Have you ever been married?" He says, yeah, wife, house, kids, the whole catastrophe. That's our life. All right. She's so cute. There's a lot of little people today, but any of you grown-ups who'd like to be in the circle, inner circle, come on in. All right. May I have the microphone wherever it wound up?
Here.
Thank you. All right. Hello, young people and their parents. What? You can't see the candle? You want to come sit up here by me? Oops. Come on. Come on over here. Come in here. Yay. I'll move my foot. Okay. All right. So, may I hold one of your hands? Thank you. May I hold your hand?
Thank you.
No, thank me? Okay. May I touch you with my elbow?
No.
Okay.
I don't want to be touched.
Why? I see. That's fine. If you have a hand to hold, give it a squeeze. Give the one on your left a squeeze. Wish this person well. This person who emerged out of nowhere and then is alive right now. Wish them well. And the person with your right hand, give that hand a squeeze. How fortunate we are to have hands and each other, and a warm room and the Dharma. Such good fortune. It's hot? Well, let's do our song. Who's the singing persons? All right. All right, over there. Here we go. But let everybody get close.
I want the middle to hold it.
1, 2, 3, May.
May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Not yet, not yet. Hold your horses. Everyone think of a wish. Everyone at home, think a wish. Make your wish. And then I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, go. Yes. Thank you all. I will. Oh, here, hang one more. I'll see you down the road. Oh, go ahead. Hang on, we got one more thing to.
Happy.
More?
So
Thank you.
Very nice. Yay.
So, till the next time. À la prochaine.